What if I told you that every injustice you've endured, every lie told about you, and every betrayal you've faced has not gone unnoticed? God has been watching. The humiliation and rejection you suffered were not the final chapter of your story. They were the setup for something extraordinary. His justice is coming, and when it does, it will be undeniable. For too long, those who wronged you believed they could act without consequence. They mocked your faith, dismissed your worth, and thought their actions would remain hidden. But they underestimated the God you serve. The same God who parted the seas and brought down kingdoms is the one who fights for you. His justice will expose every lie, silence every accuser, and turn your pain into glory. This is not the time to doubt or grow weary. God's justice is unstoppable, and his timing is perfect. He will bring to light what has been hidden, humiliate those who sought to harm you, and exalt you in ways you never imagined. Stay with me as we uncover how God's divine justice will not only restore you, but elevate you for all to see. Number 1. God sees everything. Justice is on its way. Nothing escapes God's eyes. Those who have wronged you will not go unpunished. Every injustice committed against you has been recorded. God sees the schemes devised in secret, the slander spoken to tarnish your name, and the actions meant to break your spirit. Nothing escapes his sight. While others may ignore the wrongs you've endured or dismiss your pain, God does not. His justice is not blind. It is precise, powerful, and unfailing. Divine justice does not falter. Those who thought they could act without consequence have miscalculated. They believed that their lies would never be exposed, that their actions would remain hidden forever. But God sees what humans cannot. He sees through the masks, the false pretenses, and the carefully constructed facades. He will not allow evil to flourish. At the appointed time, he will bring every hidden thing into the light, and there will be no escape. This is not a promise of mere human fairness. It is the declaration of divine retribution. God's justice is perfect because it operates on a level beyond human understanding. Where human courts fail, divine judgment prevails. It is not swayed by wealth, power, or influence. Those who have elevated themselves at your expense, who have mocked your faith or ridiculed your suffering, will face the full weight of God's righteous judgment. And when God acts, it will not be in secrecy. His justice will not whisper, it will roar. The tables will turn, and the very stage where you were humiliated will become the platform for your vindication. Those who wronged you will have no defense. Their excuses will falter in the face of the truth. God's justice will be so overwhelming that it will silence every doubt, every lie, and every claim of innocence. God will bring to light everything hidden in the shadows. He will make his justice clear, undeniable, and unforgettable. Trust in him, for the one who sees everything will not let injustice stand. His judgment is coming, and when it does, it will be absolute. Number 2, the humiliation of your enemies will be public and irrefutable. God does not simply correct injustice. He does so in a way that leaves no room for denial. Those who conspired against you, who mocked your faith and rejoiced in your suffering, believed they had won. They thought their actions were buried, their lies believed, and their betrayal forgotten. Yet they underestimated the power of divine justice. God does not work in secret when it comes to vindicating his chosen. His justice is a spectacle, a demonstration of his righteousness for all to see. The very stage where you were humiliated will become the ground for their exposure. Every false accusation, every calculated insult, and every malicious act will be unveiled. God's justice will strip away their pretenses and reveal their true nature. It will be as though the entire world can see the truth in a way that cannot be denied. This is not a quiet reckoning. It is public, undeniable, and irrefutable. When God moves, he ensures that his chosen are vindicated openly. Think of the stories from Scripture. Haman, who built gallows for Mordecai, ended up being hanged on them himself. Pharaoh, who sought to crush the Israelites, saw his army swallowed by the Red Sea. God's justice is poetic, and his timing is flawless. He takes what was meant for your destruction and uses it to bring glory to his name. The humiliation of your enemies is not just about their downfall, it is about exalting the truth. The lies they told about you will crumble in the face of God's light. Those who doubted you will have no choice but to acknowledge what God has done. Your suffering will be transformed into a testimony of his power, and their arrogance into a warning to others. God's justice does not whisper, it proclaims. When he exposes the truth, it is as though the heavens themselves declare his righteousness. Those who thought they could harm you with impunity will stand defenseless, their plans shattered and their pride undone. And everyone will know God was with you all along. Number 3, your suffering is proof that you are under God's care. The pain you feel today is not a sign of abandonment but of preparation. Your suffering is not a coincidence. It is the mark of someone chosen by God, someone set apart for a higher purpose. The trials you endure are not evidence of God's absence but proof of his attention. If you were forgotten, your struggles would be meaningless. Instead, every tear, every insult, and every wound is being woven into a plan far greater than you can comprehend. God's care is not passive. He allows his chosen to walk through suffering because he knows the outcome will glorify him and establish you. The enemy does not attack the insignificant. If you are under assault, it is because you are valuable in the eyes of God. Your suffering is not punishment, it is confirmation that God has placed his hand upon you. Even as you cry out in pain, know this: God has not left you. He watches every moment of your struggle, and his justice is already at work. The suffering you face now is part of a refining process. God is shaping you, strengthening you, and preparing you for the moment when his justice will vindicate you completely. The enemy may try to use your pain to make you doubt, to convince you that God has forgotten you. But the truth is undeniable. You are under divine protection. The very fact that you are still standing, still fighting, is evidence that God's care surrounds you. He is using your trials to show the world what it means to be chosen. Your suffering is a declaration of your worth in his kingdom. God never allows his chosen to suffer without a purpose. Every moment of pain is a step closer to the fulfillment of his promise. Those who mocked or dismissed you will one day see the truth. Your suffering will transform into a testimony of God's faithfulness, and his care for you will shine brighter than ever. What you endure now is temporary, but the justice and victory God has planned for you are eternal. Your suffering is not a sign of defeat. It is the clearest proof that you are under the care of a loving, just, and powerful God. Number 4, the truth will be revealed. God is your judge. The truth cannot be hidden forever. Under God's judgment, all lies crumble, and justice is revealed. Those who have wronged you believe their actions will remain concealed. They trust in their ability to manipulate, deceive, and twist the narrative to suit their agendas. But they have underestimated the power of divine truth. God is the ultimate judge, and he does not operate by human standards. While others may be swayed by appearances, God sees the reality beneath. He sees the lies, the betrayal, and the harm inflicted, and he will not let it go unanswered. God's judgment is not like human justice. It is perfect, absolute, and irrefutable. Every word spoken against you, every accusation leveled to harm you, is already known by him. The evidence has been recorded, and the verdict is certain. Those who tried to silence you will be silenced themselves. Their schemes will be exposed for what they are, attempts to stand against God's chosen, and when the truth comes to light, it will not be questioned. The truth is more powerful than any lie. When God reveals it, he does so in a way that leaves no room for denial. The false narratives that were crafted against you will collapse like a house built on sand. Those who once stood boldly against you will be unable to justify their actions, for God's judgment lays bare their motives. The truth will shine so brightly that even your enemies will be forced to acknowledge it. This is the power of divine justice. It doesn't just vindicate, it dismantles the structures of deceit built to harm you. And while human systems may fail, God's justice never does. His timing is perfect and his judgment is final. He will reveal the truth not just for your sake, but as a testament to his righteousness. The world will see that the God who judges you is also the one who defends you. Under God's justice, the lies cannot stand. The truth will rise, undeniable and unshakable, and those who sought to destroy you will face the consequences of their actions. Trust in him, for he is not just your judge, he is your vindicator. Number 5, God will turn your shame into glory. The place where you were shamed will be the very place where God exalts you. Your humiliation was never the final word. What others intended as a weapon to break your spirit, God will use to showcase his power. The moments of ridicule and rejection that you endured were not signs of defeat. They were the foundations of a transformation that only God could orchestrate. What seemed like your lowest point is being prepared to become your platform for glory. God does not allow his chosen to be shamed without purpose. The insults, the exclusion, and the humiliation you faced are not forgotten. They are being redeemed. Every mocking word spoken against you is being turned into a testimony of his faithfulness. Those who stood against you will one day witness the greatness of what God has done in your life. Their laughter will turn to silence as they see how he lifts you up, making clear that his hand has been on you all along. The shame you endured was a tool in the enemy's hands, but God has taken it and turned it into something extraordinary. He does not simply remove the pain of your humiliation, he transforms it. What was once a source of disgrace becomes a symbol of divine favor. The very people who ridiculed you will be forced to recognize the glory that God has placed upon you. His justice is not silent, it is undeniable. God's ability to reverse circumstances is unmatched. The rejection you experienced will become the foundation of your victory. The place where you were pushed aside will be the place where you are welcomed. The voices that sought to diminish you will bear witness to your restoration. This is the power of divine glory. It does not just heal, it magnifies, elevates, and vindicates. God will not leave you in shame. He will crown you with honor and make it evident to all that he has chosen you. What the enemy meant for harm, God will use for good. Your story is far from over, and the glory he is preparing for you will outshine any humiliation you have endured. Trust in him, for the shame of today will become the glory of tomorrow. Number 6, the final victory. God will exalt you above those who persecuted you. Your victory will not be subtle, it will be extraordinary. Every tear, every moment of pain, and every act of injustice you endured is building toward a moment of divine exaltation. God has seen the ways you were targeted, mocked, and underestimated, and he is preparing a response that no one will be able to ignore. Your enemies believed they could keep you down, but they forgot one unshakable truth. You are chosen by God. When God exalts you, it is not in secret. His justice is not a quiet redemption, it is a powerful declaration. He will lift you to a place so high that even those who doubted you will have no choice but to recognize his hand in your life. Their attempts to discredit you will crumble under the weight of his favor. What they intended to destroy, God will use to demonstrate his glory and your significance in his plan. This exaltation is not just a reversal of fortune, it is proof of God's power and his unwavering commitment to his chosen. He is not content to simply restore what was taken from you. He will multiply it. The vindication he brings will not only silence your accusers, but elevate you to a position that leaves no room for further opposition. Your life will become a testament to his justice and an undeniable example of his faithfulness. Those who persecuted you will witness your rise. They will see the blessings, the honor, and the authority that God has placed upon you. They will realize that every attempt to harm you only served to bring you closer to the fulfillment of his promises. Their disbelief will turn to awe as they are forced to acknowledge that God himself has exalted you. Your victory will not be temporary, it will be eternal. God's exaltation is not based on human standards, it is rooted in his divine plan. He is preparing a table for you in the presence of your enemies, a declaration that no one can question. Trust in him, for your final victory is already assured. He will lift you to a place where his justice and your purpose converge, and no one will be able to deny the glory of his work in your life. The message is clear. God's justice is unstoppable, and his plans for you cannot be thwarted. Every tear you've shed, every moment of pain you've endured has been seen by the one who holds all power. He is preparing a victory so undeniable that even your enemies will have no choice but to acknowledge it. What was meant to break you will become the very foundation of your triumph. Now is the time to stand firm in your faith. Trust in the God who sees everything, who defends his chosen, and who never fails to deliver justice. The trials you face are not the end of your story. They are the beginning of a divine revelation. God is not just working for you. He is working through you, turning your pain into power and your suffering into a testimony. As you move forward, remember this: your value is not determined by the opinions of others, but by the God who calls you his own. He will lift you above those who sought to harm you, and he will turn every moment of shame into glory. You are not alone. You are chosen, loved, and protected by a God whose justice is perfect and whose promises never fail. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to this channel to stay connected with messages that empower, uplift, and guide you on your spiritual journey. Click the like button to show your support and share this video with someone who needs to hear these words of encouragement. Together, we can spread the truth of God's power and justice to those who need it most. As you leave today, hold on to this promise: your suffering is not wasted, and your victory is coming. God is faithful, and he is moving on your behalf. Keep believing, keep standing, and keep trusting in his divine plan for your life. Thank you for spending this time with me. I am honored to walk alongside you on this journey of faith. Until next time, stay strong, stay faithful, and know that God's justice will always prevail. You are never forgotten. You are chosen.